But as long as you are consciously navigating these spaces, you will gain so much perspective. So let me share with you what I've got so far, because it ain't over yet. Let's get into it. Let's navigate my inner space and how I talk myself through these phases. Oh, if you have been navigating, oh, such an amateur. If you have been navigating the in between lately, as if things aren't really moving the way you would like them, want them to move, I got you. I've been navigating this space quite some times, and in my last video I shared a little bit about my journey of creation, so to say, certain frustrations you have to deal with along the way, being a simple humanoid. If there is one thing that I've learned from navigating the in-between, the short answer is that it doesn't ask for your certainty. It asks for your full participation. But I will give you the longer one. Because what I've seen with a lot of clients, but also within myself, is that when we are not fully participating and rather observing and managing our lives like it's something outside of ourselves that needs constant construction and judgment, if you are constantly working on it, it means that you are not actively in it. And I recognize this pattern in many clients because I myself was an absolute superstar in not being in it actively. Besides that, working implies moving from A to B. Because of that, our minds get addicted to visible progress. The in-between doesn't work like that. So when you are actively building something, you measure it by what is being added to it. But when you are cultivating something, you often only notice what has changed after it already has changed. Does that make sense? The results are lagging. And if you're constantly working on life, you are constantly searching for evidence that things are changing. And silence asks you to be present without having that evidence. Schijnen we nogal wat moeite mee te hebben. Silence, the in-between, asks you to stay present without having evidence at all. It has another function altogether, is to reveal essence. And that doesn't reveal itself when all is well. It reveals itself under pressure. Squeeze an orange and you will get orange juice. Pressure reveals essence. It's where you have to deal with the raw material. I've learned that perspective changes everything. And by now I always know my way back. But every time you are back in that space again, it is nice to have something you can read back. The matter of fact, let me share something with you that I've wrote navigating these in-between spaces quite a lot. What you discover in the in-between is not focused on whether your philosophy works when you are inspired. It's what happens when you're scared, when you are exhausted, when you are uncertain, when your safety feels threatened. It's a chance to inspect your old story and write a new one in any area that asks attention. Something with the lighting. Anyways, we're back. But the strength of a bridge isn't proven during a sunny day. It's proven during a storm. What you will discover during the in-between is not about whether your philosophy works when you are inspired. It is what happens when you are exhausted, scared, uncertain, when your safety gets threatened. It is where you get the opportunity to inspect the old story and write a new one in any area that asks attention. We all have a story, two actually. One story from when we didn't have control, which is our raw material, and one story that has been created after we were in control, at least for the most part. I personally have a terrible story. For the most, I'm quite open about it, but better believe you don't know 1% of it. And to be completely honest, I'd rather not share anything at all when it comes to that. Because first, I'm present and future focused. Second, the point of sharing is not to get pity, ever. It's honesty. It's creating a space for others to reconcile with parts of themselves. If anything, it took me a long time to even admit how dark things really were. Because the goal always has been to move through it with grace, with deeper understanding, learning all that I am not. What else to do? Seeing ourselves as a victim. I mean, I've seen people do that and they never ever got anywhere. Besides that, I've never seen excuses age very well. It's kind of scary though. Some people swear that life is fair, but life is objectively unfair. I mean, look around you. If you are a compassionate, empathic person, it's something you have to deal with. On top of having to deal with yourself. Use what you got and positively alchemize the crap out of it. That is why we can share our story without identifying with it. Because we are not the story. The story just used us to move through, to exist, to be shared. Some of us are handed a pathetic, miserable hand of cards. It's very accurate to say that life is unfair. But what if we just decide and accept that fairness isn't the game we play? The game is what you do with what you get dealt. How do you play the hand? Huh? That game is much more fun. It's perspective, but as long as we complain, we cannot see the power of contrast, the gift of contrast. The darker the dark, the brighter the light, which only will make it easier to navigate the depths of your own inner space. To accept contrast as a gateway to understand who and what you really are. Discomfort is connected to your expansion, but we don't always appreciate that. Meanwhile, it's here for you, so you can experience the full scope of what it means to be human, to choose what is yours. Some people die, leave this earth, distracted, never really knowing who they really were. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what does. The purpose of silence, the purpose of the in-between, is not to produce something. The purpose of silence is to restore the conditions from which something meaningful can grow. Navigating the inner world of this avatar, the human time span. The field where our experience unfolds. The place where doubt, grief, fear, intuition, distortion, remembrance all meet. The quality of our questions and our perspective. is what determines how we experience that journey, that navigation. There are so many layers to navigate. I personally have so many sides, so much that wants to be expressed, that wants to move through this vessel. That's why you will never catch me if you aren't fast. I show up in the way I can, in a way that feels true, and what feels true can change every moment. And what is true can never not be enough. See, I'm working on the wounds. You will only understand this when you saw my last video. Means go check it out. But only when we open up that inner space can we navigate the space between being and becoming, where we meet all parts of ourselves until we reach a point of acceptance. Flow state would be nice. Some peace, perhaps. And feeling at peace is not the absence of challenge. It is feeling at home within the self despite it. When we open up to the world, our experiences become medicine, a place for the conversations that most of us only have in silence, alone inside of our head. I don't believe that it's meant to be like that. I don't want to digress in what this is really about, because it's not to explain. You either get it or you don't. My content works as a filter. It's about resonance. I'm not in a hurry, and I don't do anything to boost or optimize this channel. With that being said, you might be here for a reason. You found me. What I will say is that this is the space where I without it being about me, because it's about you finding your own truth, your own answers through witnessing that process. I'm just one angle of light out of endless angles. Okay? It will always be about you. But if there's one thing that I've learned over the years is that most of our greatest breakthroughs begin with navigating the in-between, with the quality of our questions and our willingness to sit longer with them than we feel comfortable with. To resist the urge to cover the discomfort with filler and to keep asking the right questions. Great questions. And a great question doesn't create more thinking, it reorganizes thinking. Accepting that not every answer will arrive when we want to, and not every season will make sense while we are living in the middle of it. Yet, time and time again, I found that the conversations that we have with ourselves often shape the life that we create way more than the circumstances around us ever could. When we focus all that energy on the quality of our inner space, knowing that that's the soil, difficult word, that's the soil of our existence. Why do I have difficulties with this? We call it bodem, which literally translates to bottom, the beginning. But the point is that the soil has to be alive long enough before anything visible grows in a healthy way. And I think the same is true for us humans. When we have been living in constant survival, striving, heartbreak, proving ourselves, fighting or carrying too much, the soil of our inner space becomes depleted. And depleted soil does not need more seeds, it needs restoration. When the soil of our inner space has been exhausted, Silence is not the absence of growth, it is the process through which fertility returns. Because the in between, silence, is where we harvest, the season where nothing seems to happen, yet everything necessary is moving underneath the surface, where old emotions decompose. And when you surrender, fully surrender to the mental noise, it loses its grip. If you find surrender challenging, I've created a video which is literally called Surrender. You can find that one on my channel. But when you surrender, you allow yourself to descend deeper into who you are meant to be. Descend into the truth of who you are. But the deeper the descent, the higher the possibility for you to ascend. Fly, baby. The more you let yourself be ripped apart, the more space there is for energy to flow through. And that is where life force returns to the soil. Growth is a natural consequence of fertile soil. I have great imagination, I know. You have to have conviction in who you are and in the seeds you plant from that new self-knowledge, awareness. Because if you fully trust that, meaning trusting the silence, which is nothing more than your own essence, it will be buffoonery to dig up the seed every other day to see if they are already growing. That's not what trust is. Even worse, that is how you distort the process. Sometimes all you have to do is trust, witness, nurture, send warmth, keep that shit hydrated. First the soil, then the seed, then the patience, then the harvest. Just as clarity, creativity, purpose, aligned action are often not the things that we force into existence. They emerge naturally when the inner soil becomes rich enough to support them. That's why sometimes the most productive thing that we can do as humans is not produce anything. A boxer isn't standing in a ring for 24 hours. Don't tell yourself that you are waiting unless you know the real meaning of waiting. Lots of people see waiting as something negative, but you are not waiting on something when you are sure that it's not coming. So, all it is expecting something to arrive. So, all you have to do is focus on what to do in the meantime. Do what waiters do, serve the people, serve yourself. First, the wait ends when you zip it and wait. Live a little life in the meantime. Everything you authentically desire is ultimately a byproduct of fully coming home to yourself, to who you truly are. And sometimes that takes space. Space which is created in the in between. Because the distance between who we are and how we live is often created by years and years of conditioning, survival, expectations, and roles that once served us and kept us safe, but now no longer reflect the truth of who we are. I, I almost sound mad, but I promise I'm not. This is how I navigate that space. Duh. We often think that we can close that gap with more doing, more information. Well, most of us are already overproductive, overloaded, information wars, horse. Did I lie? It's also from a lack mentality.
I need more information to get me out of this space. More information. I need more information.
Humanoids.
I need more doing. Need to do more.
Like, constant urgency is nothing more than fear disguised as productivity. Most of us don't lack discipline, motivation, self awareness. We lack structural alignment. It is a disconnect from your own inner fire. We keep focusing on the wrong things. You don't understand and navigate the space of the in between and the silence in the right way. You just set yourself up for a life where you keep running in circles. Because you keep running from the very thing that wants to offer you the solution. To become fully grounded in all that you are. And the in between space is a confrontation, an intersection that shows you everything that you have learned about yourself, everything that you have outgrown, everything that you now know to be true, where you have grown, evolved, become more aware of who you really are, and at the same time, where your life, work, business, decisions haven't caught up yet. Because of that discomfort, we keep trying to find a way out instead of a way through. It will always be safe to fall when you trust the ground within yourself. Let me say that again. It is always safe to fall when you trust the ground within yourself. Both in my own life and in the lives of my clients, I have found that real transformation isn't about gaining more information. It starts with seeing clearly. It begins with seeing the identity that you have outgrown, the patterns that you have normalized, and the truth about and around yourself you became too conscious of to ignore. Only then you can stop building a life around who you need it to be and start building it around who you really are. And at some point, we have simply reached the edge of what knowledge can do when it's only understood intellectual. Think about it, you already know the concepts. You already know that safety comes from within. You know that circumstances fluctuate. You know that your self worth should not be attached to outcomes. We know that fear creates contraction. We know that self trust and the relationship that we have with ourselves matters deeply. At some point, knowledge isn't the problem anymore. The problem, or the challenge rather, is that life has now handed you a situation where your philosophy gets stress tested, tested, stress tested. That's a very different thing. We're still talking about the in between, right? Where you have to navigate more silence than you are comfortable with, less evidence you are comfortable with, less feedback you are comfortable with. Sometimes we have to stop complaining about not having the things that we want yet and admitting to ourselves that we cannot even get the basics right. Go to bed on time, for example. Guilty, guilty as charged. I've been fighting tag for the last weeks with maximum 5 hours of sleep a night. It's not very coherent of me, I will admit that. Let me be the proof of the fact that coherence is not a one-time decision but a daily choice. I mean, in the pursuit of a worthy goal, sometimes you get swallowed by periods of time that need every inch of you. The good thing is that everything can be used as fuel, even if it looks like destruction at first. Sometimes destruction is the thing that leads to new creation. With that being said, I have been working night and day to create a tool to help you navigate this space, but above all, to get clarity about what is standing in the way between who you were, who you now know to be, and what your life is still reflecting back to you. It's called the alignment diagnostic. If you click in the link in the bio, all the way on top, click on it, you go through a couple of questions, and it should give you some clarity, especially when you are navigating the in between. Not everyone is able to work with me. This is my gift to you. And if you did it, I would love to hear back from you what resonated the most. With that being said, it is very easy for us to say that we trust life when everything is going well. The question is, can I still trust life when the floor beneath me crumbles? Will I keep going when I don't see evidence yet? Can I trust life when uncertainty is no longer theoretical? It's very easy to say that we do, but at some point, we have to actively participate in the change that we keep studying. That is where real embodiment begins. The physical, our outer space, is a lagging indicator of our inner space. So it has to be a consistent practice to descend in the things that you say you believe, to descend in the truth of who we are. There's always space between the evolution of the spirit, the mind, and physical appearances. Don't judge me. There's always space between evolution of the spirit, the mind, and physical appearances. That is where we get the opportunity to become more rooted, more grounded. To not ground your sense of belief and safety in that what is always fluctuating. Do not let the things that you observe throw you off your path. To learn what it means to really be strong. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. We often underestimate what it takes. The people that you see up there are often years, if not a lifetime in the making. And all in a sudden, they are a lifetime overnight success. All you have to focus on is having an active relationship with the truth of who you are. If it's always changing, it has little to do with your essence. So focus on the one behind the eyes, on the one that is observing that what is constantly changing. As long as you know yourself, you will always have access to the truth. The truth is very consistent and it's always available. And from that space, you just keep choosing again and again who you are being and becoming. The descent always comes before the ascent. With that being said, ik ga het hierbij laten. Honor your inner space and carry yourself with grace. Fuck. Okay, I got this. And from that space, you just keep choosing again and again who you are being and becoming. With that being said, I'll leave it at that. Ik ga het hierbij laten. Honor your inner space and carry yourself with grace. See you next time.